One of the hardest things that I had to accept in my journey to stop shaming myself when I wasn't doing as well as I would like to, when my actions didn't exactly match my desired behaviors, like when I used to scroll too often or procrastinate or all those kind of things. One of the hardest things to do was to recognize and accept that it takes time to go back to your baseline competency of action taking, your baseline level of resilience, your baseline level of ability to handle distractions and negative emotions and noise and continue to act in the way that you want to and desire to and to grow. Because if we just look at the core value of resilience, we can even draw it, right? Resilience is not just one's ability to have mental fortitude. See if I can get my camera over here. Whoa. We can define resilience as you have a time where you're at your baseline and then an event comes and say this is your baseline level competency in acting in a way that you are proud of based off of the noise that's going on in your life. Some event happens, like you go through a breakup, you go through a whatever happens, a job loss, and this goes down because you're experiencing emotions or whatever, your psychology is messed up in that moment. And so it goes down because you're handling the event and you're dealing with some sort of emotions. Your resilience is basically correlated with your capacity to come back to baseline. It is how long it takes for you to do this, how long it takes, well, actually more, right here, how long it takes for you to go back to baseline based off of how far down from baseline you went, right? So the intensity of the experience and the duration of the experience, that is resilience. Because if you shorten the duration, even when the intensity is intense and you get back to baseline faster, you are more resilient. But the thing about that graph that gets people is they feel like these moments should just be these blips. Reality is that even if the moment is an immediate drop off because some specific crisis occurred, the coming back to baseline takes time. It never takes no time at all. And while it is going up and back to baseline, what that means is you are not yet at baseline yet. I know that sounds obvious, but the reason I point it out so obviously is because during that time period, your competency in acting in a way that would make you proud, taking aligned action based off of the noise around you, is not yet back to 100%. So when I've gone through negative experiences in my past, like breakups, like that's a very classic one, or getting sick, any of those kind of things where it takes away my energy and lowers my capacity, my total overall capacity to take action, I have to recognize that during that time period, I am less than 100, which means that I don't have all of my energy to give, which means I can't expect the same level of output as I would like to in every area of my life. I can only expect the same level of output in one area of my life if I decrease the amount that I have to deal with in other areas. And what this did for me was it allowed for me to give myself a bit of grace during those moments where I would recognize, you know what? This was actually a pretty intense event. The hole went down and it lasted a while. The amount of time it's going to take to get back up to where I want to be, where I wake up each day and I'm just like jazzed, might take a little bit of time. Now I can support myself to continue to take action during those periods. That's what a lot of my content is about. But I can't grade myself. I can't assess myself based off of how energetic I feel or how happy I feel or just like my emotional state in those moments, because I recognize that when those things happen, it takes time to get back to baseline. It's not just this discrete moment where you bounce back up and are all of a sudden unaffected. And this was just a lesson that it took me a long time to come to terms with because I always wanted to believe that I was more resilient than I was. But because I didn't allow myself to accept that there is some duration of time between when an event occurs and when I get back to baseline, correlated with how intense that event is, I expected myself to move faster through these loops, which meant that I never prepared myself for them. And I would shame myself because it took longer than I thought it should, even though I wasn't necessarily prepared for it. So once I started to give myself grace for this and remove the shame and be like, okay, instead of me needing to be at 100% tomorrow morning based off of this potentially traumatic event that happened over the past couple of weeks, Instead, it is, how can I support myself to reduce the amount of time and not attack myself for not feeling as stoked as I normally do during this period of time? And the funny thing about this is that when I've approached intense moments from this perspective, they take less time than they otherwise would have when I previously went the route of just kind of expecting myself to bounce back to 100% immediately. If that resonates with you, drop a comment on this video. Let me know what you do to try to give yourself grace when you find yourself attacking yourself or shaming yourself, or how you move through moments that require resilience more efficiently. Would love to know. With that, I hope you like this video. Subscribe or follow this channel. My name is Flint from iAlign, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Peace.